Excuse me. Excuse the engine, bro. I'm in this. I'm not gonna talk about the situation, but I'm in something different today. I gotta do a lot of editing with this one, man. Excuse me, y'all. But yeah, man. Just to get to the point, man. So yeah, basically, the situation I'm in a different, automobile that is getting me to places I need to be at. Yes, so to speak. In other words, I'm borrowing, in people who I live in close vicinities in which I mean we live in the same house. Yada, 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 right? So, boom. So this video is going to be about development, right? And just the concept of it. I'm probably going to have more videos, just me, expressing my personal development maybe, or just development as as a whole, like what it is, what development means to me. So development, probably right here is where I'll put the definition of development, because I don't have the means to go there, and I don't have the means to recite it right now. I'm just going based off just off the strength of what I think development is to me, and how I would explain development to you. I would say development is change over time, or set of changes over certain amount of time, because we can use time, or development can be in any type of way, but I'd say it's a change, change over extended periods, extended periods of anything, change over, it could be long-term or short-term development, you know what I mean? Where it's basically down to the root. How I can explain it is this change of, certain things, whether that be a place, whether that be a person, whether that be an object, or whether that be a thing, right? So it's just the development of what happens, changes that happen, or records of what happens over, however you're gonna measure that development. You know what I mean? Because that development can be over months. Let's measure the development over months. Let's measure the development over years. You know what I mean? Let's measure it over minutes. Because there's a lot, like I was saying before, the short-term and long-term development, right? And I'm just bringing up the concept right now. I'll probably have more extended videos on this topic, because I think it's very, very it's a great concept. The concept, the term of development. You look at everything, and everything has development, right? Because the same thing you see now, and as it develops, it won't be the same 2 years later. You know what I mean? And I think that's so, us as human beings and beings in general, the way we, interpret things and watch things grow, I feel like growing and development are also, in the same type of category, because, things are happening. Let's use a plant, like the basis of like photosynthesis and a plant, how it grows. Like a plant, it's soil, and whatever goes into that soil is, its basis, its foundation, and anything past that foundation is the development of the plant. And there's so much that goes into the development of a plant life, where there's the sun, there's water, the foundation, the soil that it's in, the whatever it's being taken care by, and things like that. And it's a crazy term, crazy concept, but it's so universal and so stretched out that we can use it for anything. There's such little development as well too, but I feel like for the most part, development is it's used for long-term things, or medium, like mid-period type things. Like there's gonna be development is usually grown, or usually said to be over like let's say a good period of time. Like you can't things that can develop really quickly, a few minutes, but for the most part, development takes a while, because you have to develop, skills. You have to develop a job skill. You have to develop, training. You have to develop all these things, and these things are notoriously known to take a little bit of time. You can't just, learn a new skill, right away, like a snap of the finger. You know what I'm saying? That, maybe it's possible for some people out there, but that's not, universally. That's not the average person. Is not going to be able to learn something new at record speed, and so they have to go into a development phase. And you can use phases as well in development, which is crazy, because there's phases to development. There's phases, within these periods of time where, okay, so let's use a year for example, right? First 3 months, there's like you're still on your New Year's resolution. You're like, okay, these first 3 months I'm doing pretty good. Okay, 6 months now, and it's like, okay, you may have fell off, but you're still trying to incorporate, those New Year's resolutions, right? Then 9 months comes about, and you're like, okay, you probably fell off, and you maybe kind of went back on those, New Year's resolutions, and then the 12th month, which you're going into the next New Year, you're like, okay, for this next New Year, I'm gonna do something different. And those are all, phases of development, because you started on a high, and then you start developing to, maybe a little lower standard that you probably didn't want to set for yourself. But that's a development as well, because there's good and bad development as well. Like where, for an example, you're really interested in the story, and the story starts out really good. There's like a good few chapters. First 3 chapters are really good, right? Then you get through the next 3, which is you're at 6 chapters. You're kind of noticing little things where it's like, oh, why does it feel like it's dipping off from these first 3 chapters? And then you get 9 chapters in, and you're like, okay, this is entirely different than the 3 chapters I read at first. And then you're at chapter 12, and you're like, okay, I feel like I don't understand where this story is going, and I don't think I want to continue reading this story. And that's development that you realize yourself, and you're like, man, like I've read the story and I watched it develop for myself, and I don't like how it, got to this point. You know what I'm saying? But then there's another chapter where it's like, probably the next chapter over is what you were probably looking for, but you didn't continue that development. You didn't continue going and growing with that story. But there's also another side, using the same analogy, where it's like first 3 chapters are probably not as good, right? Then you get to the next 3, and you're like, okay, I kind of see where this is going. Then you get to the 9, and it's like, oh, okay. And then you get to the 12th chapter, like, okay, this is a great book. I really love this book. Like it's a really, I'm thinking of like a diagram, right? I'm thinking of a diagram of how I can, how this can be explained. I don't know, but like development is such a, it's a very broad, broad concepts, but it's very universally used, you know what I'm saying, in everything that you do in your day, you know what I'm saying, like for your school career, in your job career, you developed at your job, you developed in school, you developed, as a being, your body grew up, your mind grew up, excuse me, but, basically everything develops and grows, and that's why we use the word, probably like the adjective of this, whole noun of development. Develop. We use develop a lot of times, you know what I'm saying? Because that's how we kind of, sit down and use this concept and talk about this concept, because it's so, it's important, because that's how we can track things and kind of, hold ourselves to these things, because we're developing, right? And we're seeing how different we are and in so many different facets, you know what I mean? And it's just amazing. And maybe at some point, people probably don't, develop, it's in different ways, but develop it in many other ways. And, what I'm saying, we can look at that where it's just like there's stagnant development, where it's just like you're still the same, but you're developing so many other things, but there's some part of you that's not developing past what you had before. You know what I'm saying? You probably use a scientific experiment where it's like, okay, give them this give this group this and give this group. Okay. Let me base it down. So group 1, group 2. So let's kind of bring about this scientific experiment, right? So group 1 is, a group of people. Group 2 is another group of people, right? So this one group of people gets healthy food, right? And then the second group gets, fast food, right? And then, they track that time over like probably 6-month period or whatever. I don't know. Just something dumb. 6-month period, and then they switch the foods, right? But, the first group doesn't want to try. The first group kind of tries the fast food, you know what I'm saying? Because they probably, let's say they had a week without eating. Okay, so the first, let me just chill out. So the first group, they had the, healthy foods, and the second group had the, fast food, right? So they go over that 6-month period, they're consistently eating fast food, consistently eating healthy foods, at good portions, good, every day, whatever. So then there's like a week of they get those foods taken away, and they don't eat any of those foods anymore. Like they're basically starved for that week or maybe a few days, and then they're giving the opposite foods, right? So for example, second group had fast food, so now give the fast food to the first group, which had healthy foods, and the second group the first group had the healthy foods, so you get the healthy foods to the second group, which had fast food. And you see, what happens in that, you know what I'm saying? Will, the fast food people not even try the healthy food? Or will the healthy food people get so, because they're so hungry, they eat the fast food and they get addicted to that? Or, the fast food people are still addicted to the fast food, that they're not trying to change that development, you know what I'm saying? And the development happens with the first group because they're willing to eat the fast food because they're so hungry. It's a crazy concept, because there's good and bad development, and there's short-term and long-term development. There's all types of development in so many different ways, but it all happens over periods of time, periods of, however you want to measure development, right? And, I was just trying to talk about the basis of what development is, there'll probably be more, talks and concepts and whatever else I want to do, because this is just like the first run through, and I'm talking about the definition. I put the definition up in the video. I'll probably talk about the definition in another video. I like making these general concept videos, and then maybe diving into maybe certain subjects of it, or what I'm saying, just talking about it again in like another video as well, and maybe bringing more personal aspects or experiences into it, whatever else, or a certain situation, talk about more situations, that are actually like, relevant, instead of me just making it up off the spot. But, that y'all, this been Truzen, and I'm be out. Peace.